Government shutdown. You hear that phrase thrown around on the news all the time, right? It sounds pretty serious, maybe even a little scary. But what does it actually mean when a government just shuts down? Let's pull back the curtain and figure out what's really going on behind those headlines.
So, what exactly is a government shutdown? Well, to get to the bottom of it, you have to look at the one thing that keeps the entire government machine running. And when that one thing dries up, well, the whole machine just grinds to a halt.
Yeah, at its most basic level, a government shutdown is all about one thing: money. Or, to be more precise, the sudden lack of it.
The official term for this is a funding gap. And you know what? The easiest way to think about it is like your own household budget. Imagine the people in charge of the family finances just can't agree on how to spend money for the next month. What happens? The bank account gets frozen, right? No bills can get paid until they figure it out. That, in a nutshell, is a funding gap.
But here's the key thing to remember. This isn't some accident or a simple accounting mistake. A funding gap is the direct result of a political disagreement. It's what happens when lawmakers simply cannot or will not compromise on how to spend the country's money.
Okay, so if it's all about a political fight, how does a simple argument actually escalate into a full-blown shutdown? Well, it turns out it comes down to a fundamental tension that's baked right into the system itself.
See, you've got these two major centers of power.
On one hand, you have the legislature. That's Congress, and they control the money. They literally hold the purse strings. But then, on the other hand, you have the executive branch. Think the White House and all its agencies. And their job is to actually run the government. Everything from national parks to the military. It's this classic setup, right? One group has all the money, and the other group needs that money to do its job. If they can't agree, the whole system is basically designed to freeze.
So what happens when that gridlock becomes absolute and nobody will budge? Well, at that point, it stops being just a political debate. An actual law kicks in. And this law has a very clear, very non-negotiable command.
It's a law called the Anti-Deficiency Act. And the name kind of says it all, right? It's there to stop the government from spending money it doesn't have, money that hasn't been approved. The rule is dead simple. If Congress hasn't given you the green light on funding, you have to stop operating, period. Think of it like a legal kill switch for most government functions. Okay, so this clearly isn't just some political drama playing out in Washington, D.C. A shutdown has massive, real-world consequences that affect millions of people. So let's talk about that. Who exactly feels the pain when the government decides to turn off the lights?
Well, to manage a shutdown, the government basically does triage. It splits its entire workforce into two big groups, non-essential and essential. And trust me, the fates of these two groups are completely different.
First up, you have the so-called non-essential services. And yeah, they're the first to go. So that family trip you planned to a national park? Canceled. That cool federal museum you wanted to check out? Locked up tight. And for hundreds of thousands of federal employees, it means they're told to go home without pay for who knows how long.
Then you've got the essential services. We're talking about things that are absolutely critical for national security and public safety. The military stays on duty. Air traffic controllers are still in their towers. The mail still runs. But, and this is a huge but, here's the catch. These employees are legally required to show up for work, but their paychecks might not be. They have to keep working, often with no idea when they'll actually get paid for it.
So when you add all this up, the closed parks, the workers sent home, the delayed paychecks for those still on the job, what's the total effect? Well, it creates this huge ripple effect that spreads way, way beyond just government offices.
It triggers this massive economic shockwave. Think about it. Federal workers suddenly aren't getting paid, so they stop spending money. That hurts the local coffee shops, the restaurants, all the small businesses near government buildings. Companies that have contracts with the government have to put projects on hold. When you look at the whole picture, every single week a shutdown goes on, it can shave billions, with a B, of dollars off the national economy.
Ultimately, it's a pretty simple and destructive chain reaction, isn't it? The political gridlock in the Capitol leads directly to real-world disruption, not just for the government itself, but for the lives of everyday citizens.
So, the crucial point to remember is this. A government shutdown is so much more than just a news headline. It's a fundamental breakdown of the political process, and it comes with a very real price tag. A price paid by taxpayers, by businesses, and by the very public servants who keep the country running.
And all of this leaves us with one last, really critical question to think about. When this kind of political gridlock starts to feel normal, what's the true price our society pays for a simple failure to compromise?